Financial observations are the topic we're talking about this session. My name's Sean Todd, tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner, host of The Professional Edge. We have our podcast, and we also have this Sunday mornings in Columbus on WDAK radio show from 9 till 10. I appreciate you listening in. And our financial observations, the Fed cut interest rates by 25 basis points. They indicated they would potentially decrease interest rates by another 50 basis points for a total of a 75 basis points cut. What impact is that going to have on your portfolio? Well, we know the reinvestment risk of CDs maturing in the next 6 to 8 months. We're going to have less rate of return on those CDs when we re-up those. And we have this last quarter of 2025 that's coming in, and that's when most CDs mature. So if your bank is going to renew that, hold the phone, because at 3.5%, you're slowly losing money safely, especially if it's in an after-tax account, because you had $100,000 in your savings account, you got a 4% CD, and it's now maturing. Well, you're probably going to get a 3.5 or 3.25% CD, and if inflation is anything over 3.25 and you pay tax, well, again, you're losing money safely. Let's not do that. Let's do something different. Let's have a very candid conversation, and you can schedule that initial free consultation by calling my office at 404-250-9798. And if you're listening to this up in Michigan or the great state of Indiana or even down in Florida, well, we can always schedule a Zoom call and make that happen. That is the incredible transition when COVID happened. A lot of individuals did not have the capability to do online video conferencing. And while COVID, boom, made that happen. And now a lot of meetings, even court hearings, are done via Zoom. It's just so much more convenient. And in Atlanta with traffic, it is a blessing, to say the least, when clients say, hey, it's raining. If I leave now, it's going to take me 2 hours to get to the office. Can we just do a Zoom call? Absolutely. It's simple. Get to see each other face to face, via the teleconference, and then all things are good. No one has a 2-hour commute in and an hour and a half to go back. So again, if you're in Indiana, Michigan, whatever state it might be, don't be afraid to call if you've heard this information. So what is the other financial observation? Well, the other financial observation that we need to probably make is, what have you done to keep your New Year's resolution for your estate planning? We have a lot of individuals which say on New Year's, I'm going to get my estate plan done, because now the rules have changed for inherited IRAs. We all know that if you inherit an IRA from a non-spouse, you have to take required minimum distributions over a period of 10 years. So that sets the fuse on that distribution strategy. So one of the overall plans might be, hey, you know what? It might make a lot of sense to do a Roth conversion up here on dad or granddad's, and then convert that to a Roth, and then let the grandchild inherit the Roth. That's a consideration there. That's a financial observation. Get out of the tax system, pass it down to the individual's income tax free. Because when the individual, the beneficiary, receives an inherited IRA, a regular IRA, they have to make that distribution. It is a required distribution. Now, if we have a spouse, they can do a rollover. They don't have to continue required distributions, especially if they're under the required beginning date, which those continue to go out now at 73. So with that in mind, we have a spousal rollover. So that might be another consideration. But here's the real consideration, financial observation. We know individuals are living longer. So with that in mind, if husband passes at 65, because he retired at 55, 65 passes away, the primary beneficiary is the spouse. She rolls it over, and guess what? She's the same age, 65. there is a high probability that she will get remarried. Or if it's vice versa and the wife dies, well, you know, wives, that your husband is going to need somebody to take care of him. So therein lies that second marriage. Well, if we go to the 1-800 brokerage firm, or a lot of stockbrokers will just nilly-willy set up the beneficiary as being the spouse, the primary beneficiary. So you have the second spouse being the primary beneficiary on the what is normally the largest financial asset in any family, is the 401k, which was rolled over into a self-directed IRA. So we have that, and I apologize for the background. They're doing some weed work outside. So bear with me. They'll be gone here in a minute. So getting back to the fact that the second spouse is the primary beneficiary on the largest financial asset within the family. Now, that second spouse, once they inherit that IRA, they have zero obligation to give any of that to the kids of the first marriage. Now, that is a huge financial observation that you, as the listener here on the Professional Edge, need to take into account. What is your overall financial and estate plan? These need to be coordinated. Because if, let's say, you have $1 million 401k, you retire, you roll that over into a self-directed IRA. And I will bet on this that 90% of our listeners here on the Professional Edge have named their spouse individually to be the sole beneficiary. So they can do a spousal rollover and also stay happily married. Perfect. But when that second spouse comes in, or your surviving spouse gets married, what's the default? I've seen it. The default is to name the new spouse as the primary beneficiary. And the stockbroker is going to say, well, we need to name the spouse to do a spousal rollover and go from there. Well, the stockbroker is not trained to understand the asset flow for the family that actually sacrificed to earn this $1 million. So that second spouse potentially, and has a large potential of receiving the IRA, now they can leave it to their kids to the exclusion of the family that actually earned it. That is a huge financial observation. So if you're going to lose it, why wouldn't you just spend it now? And most of you aren't going to spend it now. That's how you've accumulated the $1 million in your IRA. But the better financial observation that integrates estate planning, being a tax attorney, completing over 3,000 estate plans, the financial observation and the asset protection that you need to do is not to name your spouse as the primary beneficiary. You say, wait a minute, if I don't do that, I'm probably not going to have a spouse. I'll be in divorce court. Well, here's the trick. It is you name a designated beneficiary trust as being the primary beneficiary on your IRA. Now, with that, it says that the surviving spouse can use it, access it, do whatever they need, but the surviving spouse cannot leave this asset to their new spouse. The person who originally owned the IRA, most of the time it's the husband, he leaves it in trust for the surviving spouse. She can use it, access it, do whatever she needs, but she cannot disinherit the kids of that first marriage. So that protects that asset. That is a huge financial observation. And I've seen it time and time again in my practice that when a person passes away, they get remarried. And sure enough, the 1-800 financial firm or, any top tier brokerage firm, if I said the name, shows they name that new spouse as being the primary beneficiary on those retirement assets to, quote, be able to do a spousal rollover. but they don't track it and say, well, if they do that spousal rollover to that second spouse, there is no legal obligation whatsoever to leave those assets back to the children of the first marriage, the family that originally sacrificed to build up this $1 million IRA account. So that is enough for me as a listener here on the Professional Edge to contact my office and say, hey, look, my 401k has my spouse as a primary beneficiary. Can I do a designated beneficiary trust on the 401k? And the answer is yes, YES. And should it be? Absolutely. Because your largest financial asset is controlled by a simple one-page beneficiary designation form. And I'm sure a lot of you say, yep, I've named my spouse first and my kids are contingent equal beneficiaries. Great. You have just exposed this to disinheriting your children. That right there is enough impetus to give our office a call at 404-250-9798. That number again, 404-250-9798. Now, unfortunately, half of all our listeners have zero estate plan in force. In effect, that just is crazy. No one has discovered the fountain of youth. We're all going to need our estate plan in order because we're all going to go to jail, go directly to jail. We're not going to pass go. So we know we're going to need it. Do an effective estate plan and protect your assets for the family. That is the financial observation. It has nothing to do with your portfolio returns and everything else. It's being prudent over the course of these assets. And yes, I intentionally got trained as a tax attorney. I intentionally became a CPA, and I intentionally became a certified financial planner to put these three disciplines together to help my clients transgress to accumulation for a safe and secure retirement, the distribution of those assets as a different discipline altogether, and then melding that with their overall estate plan. So if that makes financial sense to you, and that is a good financial observation, do give our office a call at 404-250-9798. That number again, 404-250-9798. I appreciate you listening in to the Professional Edge. And if this is a benefit, send the podcast to a great friend and say, hey, take a listen to this session of the Professional Edge. It talks about estate planning and how not to disinherit your kids on your 401k or IRA beneficiary. Thanks for listening to the Professional Edge. Have a great day.
We've all thought about it. Everyone listening will need one. Not having one can cause untold heartache, family conflict escalating to the point of a lawsuit. One simple thing that avoids all that: an effective estate plan. As a practicing tax attorney, Sean Todd with Estate Management Counselors has completed over 1,000 estate plans during his 15 years of professional practice. He can help you implement an effective estate plan, coordinate your financial accounts, and make sure you have named the proper beneficiaries to maximize your tax savings. Call 877-654-9798 today and let tax attorney Sean Todd help you implement an effective estate plan. Call 877-654-9798 today. As a tax attorney CPA for over 15 years, Sean Todd has implemented over 1,000 individual estate plans. He has recently authored an especially helpful guide, How to Unlock the Ultimate Estate Plan. This guide has helped many individuals to understand the benefits of an estate plan and how to avoid unintended disasters. Sean has made every attempt to write this in plain English. To receive this valuable guide, How to Unlock the Ultimate Estate Plan, call 1-877-654-9798 and request your complimentary copy today, or by emailing your request to info@emcadvisors.net.